going on, everybody?
Hello!
It is Pixel Partners here, and welcome back for more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Escapades. We're about halfway through them, but we still got half to go.
We do.
And we're gonna, we're gonna start right episode 5 at Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. An Escapade Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy, where Susato appears to be rather irritated.
Oh boy.
Because it seems Ryunosuke has been burning a little too much bric-a-brac, and now the whole place is brimming with things they don't need. And his latest purchase really rocked the boat with Iris and Susato.
Burning too much bric-a-brac.
I'm not sure what that is, but I feel like it's a lot of junk. A lot of junk that isn't required, isn't necessary. And we're gonna get yelled at.
I've heard the phrase before, but it's been a very long time.
Hello? I'm back.
Why does that seem so terrifying to me? That smile. Oh, hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Did you have a good outing? Hi, Ryu. What's the matter? Your eyes are as big as dinner plates.
Iris, I wasn't expecting to see you here. Oh shit.
I've just made some tea, Mr. Naruhodo. Would you like a cup?
A cup or two? Yes. Definite tea. Definitely definite tea.
Ryu, everyone shrugs. Be honest. Oh, hi, Ryu. What's going on? You're acting extremely strangely.
What? Me? No, not at all. I'm as normal as normal can be. Normality itself. See?
Not again, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Not what again? What do you mean, Susie? Whenever he goes out on his own lately, he always seems to come back with a peculiar new purchase.
Peculiar? Peculiar? What's peculiar about the things I've bought?
You seem to think that anything British is a curio you simply must have. You keep buying items of bric-a-brac even though you don't know what they are. Well, there are rather lots of bric-a-brac shops and pawnbrokeries and the like around here.
I'll assume it's similar to a pawn shop then? But
Like knickknacks and whatnot, yeah.
So when I've been to Lord Strongheart's to get my weekly report, I'm always so nervous beforehand. On the way home, I just find myself in those shops and... Yes, alright, I can't deny it. I bought something.
He stress shops.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that. You're right, you can't deny it, because your eyes are wider than ever. You really ought to put up a warning sign about them. They're bigger than some potholes around here.
It's hard to resist things in the bric-a-brac shop. It's all so cheap. Mr. Holmes has given me lots of useful advice about how to pick out the real bargains.
So it's like a thrift store.
Yeah.
You must remember, Ryu, that Holmesy likes to have fun with you. Take his advice with a big pinch of salt.
That was a very deep Iris.
Huh?
Your voice went a little low there.
I've done that before when she's a little more serious.
Huh. Well, that's true. The thing you told me was a pot stand wasn't a pot stand at all. But I never guessed it was a collapsible top hat.
No, and I'd never have guessed that you could fill up this once empty room so quickly. Honestly, it's overflowing with things we don't need now. Look at it! I mean, look at those scales. Not once have you weighed something on them.
I know, but ever since I first stood the defense's bench in court, I don't know why, but I've just really wanted my own little set of scales.
You gonna buy fire too? Let's see it then, Mr. Naruhodo. What have you come home with today?
Oh,
she's like a mom.
It's, one of these?
What is it?
I don't know.
It looks dry and shriveled up in a bowl. Really, Mr. Naruhodo, what is it?
It's a sea anemone. That's where it came from when it was put in the fish tank.
An anemone?
Yes, I mean, I know it doesn't look like it at the moment. It's all shriveled up, like you said.
Aren't sea anemones living creatures? The ones that dance about on the seabed?
Yes, exactly. The ones that dance about on the seabed.
Oh, they sell sea anemones in bric-a-brac shops here in Britain?
I don't know whether normally do or not, but I do know that I bought one today.
But why were you?
Well, yes, for the aquarium, of course.
But it's dead. Aquarium? I don't know that word.
Well, according to the shopkeeper, keeping sea creatures in tanks was hugely popular here in London before.
Oh yeah, some people have some beautiful fish in seawater tanks, it's true. Having an aquarium became popular because the old glass tax was abolished.
Hey, we learned about that.
Yeah. There it is again, rearing its ugly head, the subject of taxation. It was a real craze for a while. Everyone in London had one. For a while? It stopped? Yes, it didn't last long. People's enthusiasm soon waned. It's just far too much work to be changing the sea water regularly in a city like London. Never a truer word said, I'm sure.
You think I might have realized from the start, really, wouldn't you?
Anyway, that was long before I was born. So now everyone jokes that there's an unloved aquarium covered in dust in every attic in the capital.
And it's true. There's one in this attic, too. When I told the man in the bric-a-brac shop about it, he had those words of wisdom. That's why it was the age of the sea anemone. And that made a lot of sense to me.
It made sense to you, did it? But Ryu, this anemone's completely dried up.
You just need to soak it in the water overnight and it'll be as good as new. That's what the man said.
I'm not sure that it works in the same way as dried wakame seaweed, Mr. Naruhodo.
Once I've saved some money, I'm going to buy some prawns and keep this little fellow company.
Oh, how exciting! Your office will be teeming with life. Will it really?
Britain is a funny country, though. I mean, a sea anemone craze.
Well, they say people in glass houses about comments like that here, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't forget that there was a very curious rabbit craze in our own country not so very long ago.
A mortifying chapter that people will try to erase from the history books 100 years from now, I'm sure.
You know, there was another craze as well before the aquarium one. Have you heard of Wardian cases?
What? No, I've definitely never heard of them.
They were little glazed cases for growing plants indoors, I believe.
Oh, I see. For plant lovers to raise their favorite tropic plants.
That's right, like different types of ferns.
Ferns? The fuck's a fern?
Do you mean those rather dull plants with lots of fronds for leaves? They're not dull at all. Ferns are lovely plants. I think people wanted to recreate the exotic foliage of the tropics in their own homes.
So they grew ferns? I mean, ferns. Sea anemones, Londoners certainly have a knack for the obscure.
Have you seen Holmesy? Well, thinking about it, my grandfather loved the moss on his bonsai. He looked after it better than the trees.
Seems like the more obscure something is, the more it interests some people.
Glances at Sherlock. Maybe. Anyway, the Wardian craze didn't last very long. Now, most of those little glass cases are just gathering dust, I think. But haven't I seen one in your room, Iris? Oh, very observant of you, Susie. Yes, that's right. Mine's certainly not gathering dust. I grow tropical herbs in it. Fancy.
Fancy.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I really must ask you to stop all this frivolous buying of strange things.
No, I know what I'm getting next week. Yes, alright, sorry. Just that, well, think about Mr. Holmes' room. He has all sorts of peculiar trinkets lying around.
Oh, well, yes, that's true. And they seem to be growing in number. Recently, I've noted a blowpipe, a few beryl crystals set in a twisted piece of gold, a gold-rimmed pince-nez? I don't know what that is.
I found a small gramophone record in there the other day, so I slipped into the gramophone. But it was just a whispering voice saying, Norbury, and nothing more.
That's
What
terrifying.
could it possibly be about?
Those are all the mementos of cases that Holmesy sold over the years.
Exactly, that's what I want to create in here. Just that sort of atmosphere.
Ah, a room full of meaningful trinkets, each with their own unique history, you mean?
Yes, that! I knew you'd understand, Miss Susato.
What's the significance of a sea anemone? But Mr. Naruhodo, none of the things you've bought for the room have any connection with any of our cases.
Oh, don't they?
No. Well, for example, take that splendid but rather weather-beaten top hat. That wasn't used as evidence in any of the cases we've worked on, was it?
I'll tell you what, Beppo had a mighty fine hat, so...
I actually have 2 top hats if you count the collapsible one as well.
And McGundle. No, the collapsible one is a pot stand. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. But the other day when we were in court, they were everywhere, weren't they?
Oh.
Top hats, I mean.
Well, here in Britain, of course, is the mark of a true gentleman, so that's hardly surprising. If a man isn't wearing a top hat when he ventures out of the door, he'll be looked down upon.
And we can't have that now, can we?
Gosh, it has very strict rules, doesn't it? The English Gentleman's Code.
I've been wondering how I'd look in a top hat recently. After all, my university uniform is black as well, so I think it would be very in keeping.
Oh, what a good idea! Go on then, Ryu, try it on! Oh boy.
Oh. Ta-da? Oh, why is everyone laughing? Is it that good?
The lesson here, I suppose, is that the juxtaposition of a student and gentleman is just so strange and wrong.
Well, I'd rather it didn't suit me anyway. I mean, these hats are ridiculous. I'd be willing to bet every foreigner who sees one of these for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a chimney on his head?
People in glass houses, remember Ryu?
What do you mean?
Well, what about Japanese? Chonmage top knot. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Those haircuts are the height of ridiculousness.
True.
What Ouchie has.
Yeah.
At least you can take a hat off. Once you have it's yeah, Chonmage. It's chon your head for good.
Jesus.
God. I'd be willing to bet every foreigner who sees a Chonmage for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a cannon on his head? I suppose that's what it means to have different cultures, isn't it?
On the subject of hats, the one Mr. Holmes always wears is really very strange, don't you think?
I beg your pardon, Mr. Naruhodo? What a thing to say! That hat is the very essence of Mr. Holmes. Yes, without his deerstalker, the great detective would be unrecognizable.
It's called a deerstalker? That's a surprisingly swanky name.
It's the hat of a hunter, just like the flat cap. I made up my mind long ago to visit Regent Street and buy one for myself.
I'm not sure it's gonna fit over your hair.
But I think it's perfect for a great detective who stalks his criminal quarry. What do you think is strange about it anyway?
Well, you've seen it. It has two brims, one at the front and one at the back. Why do you need two brims on a hat? Surely one at the front is enough, no?
One moment, please.
Yes, me. It's just Mr. Holmes' madcap personality coming through. I bet it's that he doesn't have to think about which way around put it on or something like that.
Mr. Holmes does not have a madcap personality. He always has a clear head. These stalkers were made for hunters who had to hide in thickets when they were stalking their prey. The brim at the back was designed to stop the stalks of plants scratching the back of their necks. Oh, so that's the reason. Thank you, Iris, for educating us.
Mr. Holmes doesn't spend a lot of time in the thickets, though, does he?
He's literally everywhere. Oh no, that's true.
I'm telling you, it's just as impetuous personality. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it firmly. Here you are, Law. Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Holmes. We were just talking about you.
I have not long since made some tea, Mr. Holmes. Would you like a cup?
I see I've come at a good time, Miss Susanoo. Thank you. Now, I have something I should like you all to see. I've designed myself a brand new Great Detective's hat. What the? There's a brim.
At the front and at the back and both sides? 4 brims in total.
The observation is quite correct, my dear madam. I'm a busy man, you see. With this hat, whichever way I put it on, I shall always have it pointing the correct way.
Oh.
I fucking knew it! My previous hat, I could end up in this moment where I don't know, see with the brim on either sides. That's impressively clumsy, I would say.
And I must regretfully say I think your madcap theory was correct after all.
Thank you. But really, Mr. Holmes, with brims on all 4 sides like that, wouldn't it just be better to wear a top hat instead?
Oh yes, and however you put it on, you'd have a brim all around.
What? So true, so true. How could I have been so blinkered as fuck until now? Well, fortunately, I happen to have 2 top hats right here. If you just lift the pot off it, you're welcome to try that one there. Indeed, I shall, my good fellow. Much obliged. Oh boy.
And the laughter ensues. He looks terrible! More terrible I can possibly have imagined!
Oh, that's not good. Maybe it's because of your long face paired with that tall hat. It just doesn't work.
Well, I think it's very nice, Mr. Holmes, even if it will have the whole world in fits of laughter.
Ah, I shouldn't have meddled with it. Give me my deer stalker forevermore. And give me my Regulation University hat forevermore.
There's still hope that you'll graduate one day, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't give up.
What a thrilling conversation.
Oh boy.
Never a dull moment with these guys.
I love.
And now we move on to episode 6. In Mr. Natsume's room.
Oh my god.
In this escapade in Mr. Natsume's room, it's revealed that the Japanese scholar was once a teacher of English. He has much to say on the cultural difference between Japan and Britain, as well as on sentimentality, Shakespeare, and cycling.
Cycling?
Okay.
Cycling?
This should be something. This should be something.
What?
I'm ready.
So, Mr. Natsume, are you really returning home to Japan?
Yes, indeed I am. Everything's arranged already.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It would be sad to see you go. And after you worked so hard to prove your innocence as well. What a shame. Feels like it was all a wasted effort.
Don't say that. I know what you're suggesting.
Now calm down, Mr. Natsume. It's all fine, really. You're in good company here, sir. If you fear the Reaper, you needn't hide the fact.
I am a proud citizen of the Empire of Japan. I'm not a scaredy cat.
Talking of cats, Mr. Holmes just casually threw in among the pigeons there.
A man like me belongs in Japan, not here. That's why I've come to realize.
I wonder. A mustache such as yours is eminently suited to it, I would say. There goes Mr. Holmes throwing another cat in.
The moment I arrived in this city, I noticed. Everyone in London laughs at me behind my back, like hyenas. Hysterical hyenas howling horribly.
Oh my god. I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Natsume.
No, but it is. Whenever I turn around and peer down the fog-filled streets, all I see is foreigners everywhere.
Well, there's you, Ryu, and Susie in here, so that's 3 foreigners out of 5 people. I'd take your point.
Only the other day, I was taking a stroll through the fog as usual when a young man approached me from ahead. He was pale and gaunt, his back arched like a cat, observing his wretchedness moving so deeply.
What?
I thought to myself, I'm not the only one suffering in this hell. But, you know what? Can you imagine? It was just my own reflection in the shop window!
Oh my god.
A stunning, stinging, super flying surprise!
Don't forget slap in the face.
Everyone started laughing at me. Gentlemen thereabouts, ladies passing by. Even the man in the shop window!
Hi, God.
And a certain great detective would like to be included among the mouthful. Mr. Holmes is really going for Soseki-san today.
He loves doing that. Well,
And I forgot Soseki hates Sherlock.
Yeah, because he's the one who arrested him.
Yeah.
I, for one, think you're a very handsome man, Mr. Natsume.
There, did you hear that? This 10-year-old girl thinks you're handsome. Isn't that wonderful?
He's just like,
That's illegal. It feels suspiciously warm inside.
Looks genuinely delighted.
The point is, we Japanese are humble and modest. Studying on foreign soil surrounded by foreign people. How can anyone possibly enjoy that? No one could, it's impossible. If you're a genuine Japanese.
If you say so. Actually, it would appear that there is someone. A Japanese man who studied in a foreign country and seems to have thrived on the experience.
There is?
Is it me? It's me, isn't it?
Mr. Ogai Mori.
Oh.
I believe he studied in Germany.
Oh, well, I thought you were talking about me.
Why would I need
Mr.
to look
Mori?
into my book for your name, Mr. Naruhodo?
Right, tell us more of the fellow. I thought it was for theatrics.
Well, today he's a very successful author in Japan.
Oh, I've heard of him. He's the professor who wrote Maihime. Maihime, isn't he?
Hime is like a princess honorific. Maihime?
I suppose the English title would be Dancing Queen.
Or Queen.
Maybe?
I don't know. Oh, I see. It's a woman who waltzed her way through the world, perhaps? You really needn't make up a silly translation, you know. It's already officially called the Dancing Girl in English. Seems Mr. Mori greatly enjoyed his time in Germany. He became close with a local lady while he was there.
Close, you say? With a local lady? Compatriots' criminally contradictory conduct!
Well, I suppose your experience studying abroad depends on a large extent to your character.
As they say, many men, many minds!
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mori is an open mind, Mr. Natsume a closed one. Possibly a slightly black and white view, do you think, Mr. Holmes?
Well, anyway. If that's how you feel about being abroad, why did you choose to study here?
Wasn't it further our nation's understanding of the English language or something like that?
Yes, that's right.
So what were you doing in Japan before you came to Great Britain then?
I was a school teacher. Of English, of course.
Flip.
A bit cursory, perhaps, but I've managed to discover some information about Mr. Natsume's teaching days.
That's just a little outside the field of law, isn't it, Mr. Susuda?
It's... Well, let me pose you a question, Mr. Naruhodo. If you had to translate the English phrase, I love you, into Japanese, what would it become?
That's easy. Ashiteru, or suki desu.
Aishiteru suki desu.
Okay, that's
wrong, according to Mr. Natsume's teachings, at least.
Wait, what?
Would you like to explain, Mr. Natsume? But that was correct.
Yes, of course. Your research is very thorough. I was used to tell my students that we Japanese don't express ourselves that way. Rather, we might say, Tsukigakari desune. Desne.
You don't pronounce the U.
Sorry. My dear Miss Natsume, I must interject. What the fuck are you saying?
Oh, that in a British accent.
Tsukigakari desune. We're trying to do the moon is beautiful, isn't it?
I know that!
Wait, Sherlock knows Japanese?
He does know like 17 different languages because he goes all over the fucking world.
That is true, yeah. The point is that we Japanese are reticent when it comes to expressing our emotions. We prefer to show our feelings of adoration, our tsuki, by appreciating the beauty of the moon. The tsuki.
Tsuki. Ah, using the tsuki to express tsuki. It is an amusing play on words, I see.
No! Or a language you might understand better. Bad Holmes! It's not a play on words. It's subtle. It's humble. It's fleeting and beautiful. It's art.
Okay. Isn't it just being shy?
My dear fellow, the fond dancing girl will forever be out of your reach with such an attitude. Imagine how the great Mr. Mori would act. He would win the lady's heart in a flash with a well-placed and unrestrained, I love you.
That's smooth, Mr. Mori. I am destined to live in his shadow forever.
And now I'm dying because Sherlock said I love you.
Just what sort of man is he in? Is he in that imagination of yours?
You good?
I forgot
what sort of man is he?
The fact is, I just can't settle in this foggy London town with all this foreign inhabitants. I've lost count of a number of different lodgings I tried before I found myself here. As it happens, I even lived on Baker Street at one time.
Oh, no, really?
A Sao scholar lives there, a man by the name of William James Craig. His knowledge of Sao is unsurpassed. He's been a great inspiration to me over the...
Forgive the interruption, but am I supposed to be familiar with this Sao of which you speak?
It's Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare! But in Japanese we write it as Sa and O. It's a phonetic representation of using kanji characters, so England is Igarusi. Or Igarisu, I read that backwards.
Yeah.
America's America.
Come to think of it, we use the same character as Ri in the one where it is Risu in another. Talk about confusing. So Shakespeare's Sao in Japanese? Presumably a Sa is a brutal attempt at the first Sha, in which case, where's the Kiss-spear?
I'd never thought of that. We only have the O left.
which could, even in the most charitable interpretation, be only a brutal attempt at old man.
It seems to me that whoever had the job of deciding on the characters for his name got bored very early on.
Complete kanji character catastrophe.
Oh my god.
So then, on the burning question, what about me? How do you write my name?
Oh boy.
Sorry? Sherlock Holmes, my dear fellow. That must be a Japanese character for my name.
It's Sherlock Holmes here though, so...
Yeah.
Oh dear, I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, but none exist that I'm aware of.
What? Am I really nothing to you, Japanese? In that case, it is a matter of paramount importance. You must construct my name in kanji at once. Oh, well, we could use a kanji that's pronounced so to start with, and then use one more to give oh, perhaps?
So...
I think that would be alright, Mr. Holmes?
But that's almost the same as Sao, isn't it?
Yes, you employed the dreaded... Oh, I didn't want people to confuse me with an old man who died centuries ago. But I'm sure the world's greatest literary figure would rather not be confused with you either.
Wow!
One of the world's greatest detective is still youthful and full of vigor. So how about... So handsome?
Oh my god. Oh yes, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure everyone will be calling you that 100 years from now.
How can she say that with such a straight face?
Cause she's a simp like me. What's about me then? Iris? Perhaps Ahime? Since the second character doesn't seem to matter? Ahime. Oh yes, Princess of Love. That's an adorable name for you, Iris.
And admirable.
Stop, please! With a name like that, Mr. Mori is likely to turn up at any moment and rush to declare I love you.
This Mori-san has become quite the character in Soseki-san's mind.
For real.
And you, Mr. Naruhodo? Might I venture? Kurobozo is a fitting name for you?
Kurobozu.
As in the Dark Monk.
Yeah, Kuro is black. I knew that. Oh, that's very good. Describes you perfectly, Ryu.
So you think I'll be wearing this black varsity uniform for the rest of my days, do you? I want to get a nice blue suit with maybe like a red tie or something in there.
But Mr. Naruhodo already has a Japanese name. I don't believe he needs another. Well, anyway... We were talking about your life here in London, weren't we, Mr. Natsume? You should just get out and have fun.
The landlady has said as much to me too.
Mrs. Garadab?
But it wasn't fun at all. It was frightful.
Whatever do you mean?
A cycle incident!
Oh no.
An incident? On a bicycle? Oh yeah, come to think of it. There's that broken ass bike outside.
Yeah, that one. Was that his?
There's no bicycle park just outside, isn't there? It's in a sorry state though.
I tried to say no to her, but she insisted I took it for a ride. Perhaps my pronunciation was wrong. So I took my life in my hands and attempted to ride the steel spider-webbed stallion to a nearby park.
Spider-webbed stallion. I really don't think there's anything wrong with your pronunciation, Mr. Natsume.
Joan Garadab just isn't the kind of woman to take no for an answer.
No, she's not.
If you're going to die, you might as well die in beautiful surroundings. So the park was my first thought.
Oh my god.
After a whole day of dicing with death, I emerged with only relative minor bruises.
So you got the knack of it?
Don't be silly. Dying isn't something you can learn to do.
What? Huh? Mr. Natsume, you keep talking about dicing with death and dying and so forth, but you're alive. Riding a bicycle is supposed to be fun.
I told you this place was haunted. With me. Oh no, that's just what people tell you. But it's an old wives' tale.
Is it?
I mean, just consider the real name of the vehicle. It's not called a dicycle for nothing. How could I know something is such an aptly named vehicle to move forward is beyond me? Pedal power promises pain.
I didn't think it was possible to get worse with practice.
I'm lucky to be alive. Although I must say, after looking death in the eye for a whole week, I did at least manage to mount the steed reliably. And notwithstanding a few wobbles, I found I could make progress to the forward direction.
Ah, what a triumph. Deduction is much the same. When first presented with a problem, the mental exertion of trying to solve it leads only to a bit of disappointment. But after a week of picking one's way carefully along the path of reasoning and thought, one begins to see results. So is that why all of your off-the-cuff deductions always seem half-baked?
What a wonderful insight into your extraordinary mind, Mr. Holmes.
Sam, God, aren't you gonna let me? I fix him.
Unfortunately, after wobbling down the street, I noticed there were little stones everywhere. Death traps. Not that way, I said to myself. But the wild vehicle wouldn't listen. It wobbled me on and on down the street. And of course, I had one of those deadly stones and the crazy colt threw me. It's just my luck. Dicycles are the epitome of my pitiful life.
I wish I could disagree.
On the same subject, I'm sure there's a famous American author who's written about having a similar experience. Oh yes, I've read that essay too, Iris.
Some of us are better read than others.
Well, no more dicycles for me.
Oh, Mr. Natsume, at least you have an interesting anecdote to take with you back to Japan, if nothing else.
You always manage to put a positive spin on things, don't you, Miss Susudo?
Yes.
Personally, I haven't mounted a bicycle for some time.
No, me neither.
That's good.
He's like, don't. You'll die.
So how about a jaunt? We shall all ride out together. That sounds great. I'll perch behind Miss Susudo.
But the sun's going down. It'll be pitch black before long.
London street lamps are very bright, you know, and the fog isn't too thick today.
And my beloved ride is all bent out of shape.
My dear fellow, if you are bound to topple the vehicle anyway, it's fitting that it's already bent out of shape.
It's settled then. Come along, Mr. Natsume, shall we go? God. He's just like...
I give up.
Don't tell me that's a translation of no thank you as well. Indeed, Mr. Natsume, the moon is at its most beautiful and its pricey this time in the evening.
Oh.
Did you forget that he can speak Japanese? We're not Japanese. You can't beat around the bush with us.
Oh, shit. What a weird and wonderful world.
Oh, God.
Holy moly.
Dicycle.
I love it. What an interesting man he is. I've forgotten about him, but
Same.
interesting man Mr. Natsume is. But this means that we are left with the last two escapades next time.
God.
It's just the best stuff in the world. Don't have to worry about the pressure of story, plot, or mysteries, or anyone dying. It's just
or presenting evidence.
It's just character growth. That's all it is.
It's great. It really is.